Hey Naomi, how are you?
I'm great.
Thanks for joining us here today at the LA Times Festival of Books. I wanted to ask you about Strawberry Yellow, your new book. Tell me a little bit about it.
Well, it involves my main protagonist. He's an amateur sleuth named Mas Arai. He's a Japanese-American gardener and atomic bomb survivor who solves crimes. And in this book, he goes to a place called Watsonville, California, very close to Monterey, for a second cousin's funeral. And as my mysteries go, he gets caught up in another death in a greenhouse next to strawberries.
Aha, so that's where that comes from. And having a protagonist who's a Japanese gardener, that's like sort of steeped in Los Angeles history, right?
Totally. My own late father was a gardener, and at one point in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, so many, I mean, they were like iconic, you know, in terms of the Californian landscape. You know, everyone prided themselves to have a Japanese gardener, whether they could really do the work or not.
And but the solving crimes thing, that's your own spin.
Exactly. And it's just a device for me to take kind of a passive, kind of quiet character and move him out into the outside world. There's something that forces him, a high stakes thing that forces him out. And so we get to learn a lot more about like Japanese American history and culture.
And it's, in some ways, it was an invisible history that like stories like this are helping to bring back out.
You know, I get one of two comments. One is, this is a world I never knew existed, or that's my uncle, that was my grandfather. So it's kind of neat, interesting that there's these two parallel worlds, and now they're kind of talking to each other a little more.
As someone you're a native Angelino.
Yes.
And you write mysteries. Were there any books that you read growing up that influenced you?
Not necessarily growing up, more when I became an adult. Actually, it's over in New York, but the Harlem Mysteries by Chester Himes, an African-American writer, and of course Walter Mosley was very influential that I knew that I could write about this, a subculture, but kind of funnel it through a mystery format.
We've been asking people who have joined us here if they have any stories from book tours past that they'd like to share. Do you have one?
Let's see. Well, I just finished going to Denver, Tucson, Houston. I followed Harlan Coben. No, I didn't follow him. I was with his warm-up band.
Oh, really?
And it was very fascinating to kind of see.
You really you would appear on the same night at the same bookstore?
Yeah, so that was a bit humbling. But then my peeps are in like places like Torrance, California, Little Tokyo, and Pasadena, California. So yeah, so that lifted my spirits a little more to see my people, see my readers, here in California.
That's great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.